I, as a citizen of this country, it is 20 years since the restoration of democratic rule in Nigeria. When we fought hard to disengage the military from governance, I mean, when I say we, I mean those who sacrificed their lives and liberty in the struggle for freedom of our country. Who are those? The civil rights activists, the intelligentsia, the labor union, the media, students and youths, and the progressive arm of the political class. We fought the military to a standstill to restore democracy to Nigeria. In the first 2 to 3 years, we refer to our democracy as nascent. I think 2 decades after, we cannot call our democracy nascent. If there is any single achievement that cannot be disputed with this democracy, is that for the first time in the history of our country, democracy has been able to last for 20 years, 99 to 2019. But what is or are the content of that period? We cannot say to our right senses that this democracy was the wishes, the aspirations, and the dreams of Nigerians when it comes to the fact that some people laid their lives, sacrificed their liberty, even went into exile, they went into jail, and many were buried in the struggle to restore democracy back to Nigeria. It is repugnant and unfortunate that 2 decades since the restoration of democracy, the people in the position of power are still intolerant to criticisms and dissent. We have always nagged on the 16-year rule of the PDP, but it is enough time to probe, to interrogate the democratic credentials of the ruling political establishment of today. Lest we forget that this democracy was a product of protest and sometimes open rebellion and dissent against a military dictatorship. So we can properly say that this democracy is a product of that conscientious objections and denunciation of the system that hold us to ransom for decades as a nation under a military junta. Fast forward to 2015. The people in the position of political office today were vanguards in the protest for justice, for freedom, for good governance, and for respect for fundamental rights and rule of law. But we have seen, we can adequately and properly and rightly say that the ruling political establishment were also beneficiary of the culture of protests and objections in Nigeria. On several occasions, we have seen the leaders of the ruling party, the people occupying positions as senators, as ministers, as presidents today, leading the people on the street, protesting, insisting, and challenging an order that was strangulating us as a nation. Then it is a betrayal of that history, of that record, of that event that led us to where we are today. Nigerians were promised that there will be fundamental respect for fundamental rights and freedom to criticize, but we have seen a growing refusal, objection, and allergy on the side of the people in the position of power to opinions that are contrary to theirs or differ from theirs. We can say that there is a growing climate of fear that people will be arrested, intimidated, and dealt with if they express opinions that people in the position of power feel very uncomfortable with. Now, I must say that in as much as the ruling political establishment, particularly the president, is desirous of leaving a legacy for posterity and for his own personal history, the most important legacy you will leave is to uphold the rule of law, fundamental rights, and preserve democratic values that you inherited and benefited from. If those in the position of power desire only for people to choose or to be forced to silence, then we will be dealing with a very bigger problem at hand. No matter how we try to portray ourselves as a united and indivisible nation, also, the government of the day and the political establishment must demonstrate that they are for all. If we treat one part of the country with so much and then treat another part of the country with so little, then certainly the pillars on which the beam of the nation stands will continue to stagger and fall. So I said it repeatedly. If people are desirous of protecting and defending their freedom through peaceful protest, the state, the nation, has a constitutional responsibility to respect their right and protect them to express their right. If you crush dissent and jail dissenters, you are forcing people to take the road of violence. I outrightly condemn the attack and the lynching of my friend and brother, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, in Nuremberg, Germany. But it should also be a wake-up call to each and every one of us that if the state makes it impossible for people to express their opinion peacefully, legitimately, and legally, it is pushing people to be hunters rather than protesters, to be mobsters rather than, in quote, criticizers. In order to protect our constitution, our democracy, there is that very need for the government to respect the rule of law. State apparatus must not engage in indiscriminate arrest of people for expressing their opinion and using force to crush peaceful dissenters without inspiring people to take the vigilante option in terms of defending their rights and getting our people in the position of authority. Those who took to thuggery outside of the nation were inspired by the way protesters and dissenters are being treated by the state. There is no difference between the way my friend and brother was treated in Nuremberg with the way protesters were treated in Lagos and Abuja each and every day by the state apparatus. So the state is the main culprit in terms of inspiring people to take a road other than the one that is legitimate and legal and lawful. And other than that, I will say this. It is always important for us to recognize that Nigeria is a fragile state. And our history tells much about that. Over a century after amalgamation, and close to 6 decades since the flag independence that was granted to us by the British, we all accept that we are still struggling to be one, struggling to be united, struggling to be seen as a nation. The national flag cannot unite a nation when you don't have justice. The national anthem and the national pledge cannot unite a nation when there is no justice. The coat of arms with the 2 white horses cannot unite a nation if we are divided psychologically, mentally, and spiritually. The president and the government of the day should not think about uniting Nigeria is constructing a second, third, or fourth Niger bridge. Physical bridge will be of no relevance when spiritually and in our souls, Nigerians remain divided as a people. So we can say that we, those who speak the truth to the government of the day, are not its enemies. It is those who pretend to be its friends today that will fight them after power. Showore cannot be seen to be enemy of Nigeria, or enemy of the government, or enemy of President Muhammadu Buhari. This was a man who sacrificed and fought the PDP then and contributed his own quota to the emergence of the new government. And I cannot be mistaken to say many of those occupying position of power today in this government went to New York and met Showore on many occasions to help them to fight the PDP government. Now, how do you now turn and say the same person who spoke about justice and freedom 6 years, 5 years ago is now the enemy. The enemies of the president are today's who are pretending to be his friends. I have always reminded those in the position of authority, even before I became a senator and when I was a senator, that power is ephemeral, it's a phase, it's temporary in the life of a man. The life after power is longer than the life when in power. I want to be quoted on a marble that when President Muhammadu Buhari finishes his tenure, those he considers friends today will be those that will be abusing, rubbishing him, and destroying and assassinating his character, and even call for his prosecution. And those that he thinks are his enemies today will be the one he will rely upon. We should not. President Muhammadu Buhari is not a product of 2015. He contested 2003. The media, the civil society, progressive stood for him. They stood for him in 2007 and stood for him in 2011. Most of those people who are calling themselves Buharists today are simply Buharists because Buhari is the president. They were not calling themselves Buharists before Buhari became the president, and they will never call themselves Buhari after Buhari is out of the president. This, I believe, will happen. Where are those who said they can die for Obasanjo when Obasanjo was in power? Where are those who are ready to kill others for Obasanjo when Obasanjo was in power? Today they cannot even raise a voice when Obasanjo is criticized or attacked. If you are in a position of office, you should always be able to differentiate between friends of the king and friends of the throne. The friends of the throne will continue to be with the throne, whoever is on the throne. So I will always like to bring our attention to the fact that we should understand that this country is a multi-religious and multi-ethnic nation. And we must always balance our differences to reflect in governance, in politics, and in economics. Marginalizing or penalizing a people because they didn't vote for you is not good for the peace, stability, and the future of our country. Nigerian political leaders, when they take the oath of office, they will always swear to be fair to all Nigerians, not Nigerians who voted for them, not Nigerians from their political party, not Nigerians from their own ethnic group, but Nigerians wherever they are. If leaders of this country, if we want to preserve this union and this country, we must say what we say to our people in our languages as we say it in English. Because Nigerian political leaders, when they speak in their own mother tongue, local dialect, They are chauvinists and tribalists. And when they speak in English, they are nationalists and patriots. So, I am using this opportunity to call and to demand that in the interest of peace and stability of our country, one, a democratic government must subject itself to democratic rule and the articles, the spirits, and the letter of the Constitution of our country. Must like to respect fundamental rights and protect freedom. Those protesters you jail, those protesters you kill, are the ones who will defend you when you are out of office. The press you gag, the press you intimidate, are the ones who will stand for you when all politicians have left. When President Buhari was going to court, how many of the people today that call themselves Buharis were going together with him? When he was jailed after 1985 coup, how many spoke for him? None. So I will use this opportunity to call on the people on the position of power to always keep to tab that no matter how we are allergic to revolution, no matter how we oppose a revolution or a revolt, as long as there is entrenched injustice and institutionalized marginalization of people, we are simply deferring our day of reckoning as a nation. And thank you very much for listening.
Gentlemen, I think distinguished Senator Shehu Sani deserves a bigger round of applause. Distinguished Senator, while you were talking, the chairman of the FCT Council of the NUG, Comrade Emmanuel Ogbeche, walked in. He said,
and then people will pick from there is somebody that will pick a ticket, so it's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.